Les Misérables.
Volume 2. Cosette. Book 4th. The Gorbeau Hovel. By Victor Hugo. Narrated by Peter Silverleaf. Chapter 1. Master Gorbeau. 40 years ago, a rambler who had ventured into that unknown country of the Salpêtrière, and who had mounted to the Barrière d'Italie by way of the boulevard, reached a point where it might be said that Paris disappeared. It was no longer solitude, for there were passers-by. It was not the country, for there were houses and streets. It was not the city, for the streets had ruts like highways, and the grass grew in them. It was not a village, the houses were too lofty. What was it then? It was an inhabited spot where there was no one. It was a desert place where there was someone. It was a boulevard of the great city, a street of Paris more wild at night than the forest, more gloomy by day than a cemetery. It was the old quarter of the Marché aux Chevaux. The rambler, if he risked himself outside the 4 decrepit walls of this Marché aux Chevaux, if he consented even to pass beyond the Rue de Petit-Banquier, after leaving on his right a garden protected by high walls, then a field in which tan-bark mills rose like gigantic beaver huts, then an enclosure encumbered with timber, with a heap of stumps, sawdust, and shavings, on which stood a large dog barking, then a long, low, utterly dilapidated wall, with a little black door in mourning, laden with mosses, which were covered with flowers in the spring. Then, in the most deserted spot, a frightful and decrepit building, on which ran the inscription in large letters, Post No Bills. This daring rambler would have reached little-known latitudes at the corner of the Rue des Vignes Saint-Marcel. There, near a factory and between 2 garden walls, there could be seen at that epoch a mean building, which at the first glance seemed as small as a thatched hovel, and which was in reality as large as a cathedral. It presented its side and gable to the public road, hence its apparent diminutiveness. Nearly the whole of the house was hidden. Only the door and 1 window could be seen. This hovel was only 1 story high. The first detail that struck the observer was that the door could never have been anything but the door of a hovel, while the window, if it had been carved out of dressed stone instead of being in rough masonry, might have been the lattice of a lordly mansion. The door was nothing but a collection of worm-eaten planks roughly bound together.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?